now. Let's start on Bryce's best 10 this week. Despite losing, I've still got the Houston Texans. The Texans, to me, the 10th best team in the NFL, just like they were a week ago, and here's why. So Houston right now sitting there at 6-5. Houston, they suffered a brutal loss, not in terms of the score, but in terms of the playoff implications to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Had a golden opportunity at home on their home turf to potentially tie Jacksonville for the division, sweep Jackson for the season, have the tiebreaker of them to potentially win that sneaky competitive AFC South. But C.J. Stroud, nonetheless, is having a fantastic season. He's having really the greatest rookie quarterback season we've ever seen. When you're talking about a quarterback getting MVP votes or MVP buzz, you're doing something right, especially when you consider where the organization was at before. But C.J. Stroud right now had a passer rating. He had a passer rating of 116 over against Jacksonville, and is the second most passing yards in the NFL. Pass ratings off the charts, passing yards off the charts. Like, if you didn't know C.J. Stroud was a rookie, you'd think he was in the NFL for a decade. And it just, as we talked about with Tom Brady, like, he mastered the position. Tank Dell is a real receiver. They stole him in the third round. Some of the other weapons that they have in Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. The offensive line has really come together. And again, if the backup kicker, they're a backup kicker coming inches of making a bomb field goal away from sending the Jaguars, a very good Jaguars team, I might add, to overtime. So I don't want to overreact too much on the Houston Texans. I like their chances this week against a good Broncos team. Broncos were my last team I considered at number 10 for Bryce's best team. I decided to go with the Texans. We will get a clear answer on that on Sunday. The Texans are the 10th best team in the National Football League. At number 9, coming back to Bryce's best 10 after a few weeks of absence, it is the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are the 9th best team in the NFL, and here's why. So, listen, got to be honest. So, in week 3, after they dropped a 70 burger on the Denver Broncos, I came out my show. I said, you know what? I was iffy about Tua. I thought he was an average quarterback who stat padded against bad teams, and I said, you know what? I'm wrong on Tua. Dolphins fans, you got me. You win this one. Shout out to the city of Miami and all Dolphins fans out there, because when you look at what Tua's done, he has a pass rating of 104 dating back to last year and this year, and is 16-8 in his games. So he wins a lot of football games. The Dolphins right now are a half game out of the 1 seed right now in a division that contains that contains the Buffalo Bills. Last week against an excellent Jets defense. For as bad as the offense in New York is, the Jets defense still has a ton of talent, led by Sauce Gardner, obviously, and the Williams brothers, and they still dropped 30+ in this team. So Tua played well. Raheem Mostert in this offensive line kind of finding a rhythm. I still like where Miami is defensively in terms of what Jalen Ramsey's doing, what the pass rush is doing, and Bradley Chubb, etc. Vic Fangio's doing a good job. They did lose Jalen Phillips for the season with an Achilles tear, which just sucks, especially when we consider that MetLife turf situation. They have got to, and I mean got to, address that at some point or another. But right now, you look at Miami, they're about as explosive a team as there is in the National Football League, and that is why today, for me, they are the 9th best team in the NFL. If we can get the 8th best team up here, again, the graphic is not, okay, I think I've got the graphic right here. The 8th best team in the NFL, once again, making their return to Bryson's best 10. At number 8, it is my Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, the Steelers today, the 8th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, Pittsburgh top 10 in the NFL in scoring defense, but we know how good TJ Watt is. We know TJ Watt and Myles Garrett are on a collision course right now to win Defensive Player of the Year, although Micah Parsons is certainly making a late push. There's no question about that. But TJ Watt, the Steelers linebacking core, the secondary led by Joey Porter Jr., Mr. Joey Porter Jr., potential Defensive Rookie of the Year, which I predicted him to do. If you look at what Joey Porter Jr. has done to the receivers that he has faced, he held Puka Nacua to a catch for 22 yards, Devontae Adams, 1 catch, 12 yards, Calvin Ridley, 2 catches, 20 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 catch for 17 yards. And most recently, Jamar Chase, 2 catches for 36 yards. So we know what the Steelers defense does and what Mike Tomlin can do. It is the Steelers offense that finally moved on from Matt Canada. Finally moved on, and they're going with the dual offensive coordinator system, back and forth, so to speak, to play off of each other's strengths. Kenny Pickett was the 3rd highest graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus in that game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And for the first time, my Pittsburgh Steelers went for over 400 yards of offense. First time since week 2 of the 2020 NFL season, when these players and these teams were playing in front of empty stadiums. Long time ago, that's the last time the Steelers had a 400-yard day of offense. They're getting the ball to George Pickens. Najee Harris had his best game of the season. Kenny Pickett had his best game of the season. The Steelers offense, if it finds any sort of an offensive rhythm, holy smokes, look out, because this team can be freaking dangerous considering that defense and obviously considering the great Mike Tomlin. The Steelers are the 8th best team. My Steelers are the 8th best team in the National Football League. At number 7, a team I've been high on all season long, but I'm having some concerns. It is the Detroit Lions. The Lions right now are the 7th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So Detroit right now are having some real concerns about their defense. Yes, their offense is in a funk, but listen, they still have the number 1 graded offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. Penei Sewell, if you look at his PFF grade, was fantastic against the Green Bay Packers and against the pass rushers they got over there. The Detroit Lions offense, despite the kind of the slump that Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, all those guys are in right now, still the second best offense in the NFL in terms of total offense, rushing, passing, points to score, the whole bit. So Detroit's fine in that regard. It's their defense that's a bit of an issue. So they gave up 26 to the Chicago Bears, the same Bears that couldn't muster a single touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. You consider Jordan Love had his best game of the year since week 1 against the Chicago Bears. Detroit giving up 29 against the Green Bay Packers, gave up 38 to the Chargers. So 3 weeks before that, gave up 38 to the Baltimore Ravens. So little bit of a free fall right now defensively for Detroit, a team that started really well defensively. Can they get back on their feet? We'll see. But with this offense, as loaded as the NFC is, with great offenses like Dallas, San Francisco, and Philadelphia, they can get in shootouts. I will still hold to my pick. I'm still hanging on for dear life that the Detroit Lions can make the NFC title game. I've said that back last spring. Still believe they can do it. The Lions are the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6, again, lower than most people would have them, but I got to call like I see it. The Baltimore Ravens right now. The Baltimore Ravens are the 6th best team in the NFL, and here's why. So you're saying, Bryson, time out. They have the number 1 rush offense. They have right now the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. Why on earth do you have them at number 6? The Mark Andrews loss, folks, is so much bigger than people give it credit for. Mark Andrews being gone for the season or potentially for the season is brutal for Baltimore. Not to mention, against the last ranked pass defense in the NFL, dead last, Chargers, Brandon Staley, terrible coach. Everybody wants to run him out of town, which is understandable. There's no question about that. Ravens scored 20, and Lamar had a passer rating just above league average at 82 and a QBR of 36 if we're going to round up. So the Ravens offense, in terms of throwing the football, didn't get much going. Now running the football, they did run for 200 yards, but not a lot of explosiveness. Some coaching decisions by Jim Harbaugh in the fourth quarter were questionable at best. It took a Zay Flowers crazy play in the fourth quarter just to pull away at the very end for the Baltimore Ravens. So I have some concerns about whether or not they can go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs. I still do like this roster, but I've been saying for weeks now, their inability to be good offensively and defensively in the fourth quarter games, we saw that game against Cleveland a few weeks back, really, really concerns me and could be their undoing. That is why the Ravens, I have them at number 6. They can move higher, no question about that. I'll see what I can see the next few weeks, and what we can see the next few weeks. But the Ravens today are the 6th best team in the National Football League. Moving to the top 5, at number 5, I think this is the highest that they've been on Bryce's Best 10. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So here are 2 fun stats about Jacksonville I think y'all will like, okay? So they are dead last in the NFL in penalties. So I've always raved about Doug Peterson. I think he's one of the better coaches in the league with quarterback whisperer. Man, what a Super Bowl with Nick Foles at quarterback with a beat-up Philadelphia roster. Doug Peterson's a darn good head coach. We know that for his days with the Eagles. A lot of Andy Reid assistants are good head coaches, but that's who Doug Peterson is. But you consider, not only is Jacksonville dead last in the NFL in penalties, so they don't make mistakes, they don't beat themselves up, undefeated on the road this season. It's actually at home where they struggle. So, if they win the AFC South, or if they were to somehow get the 1 seed, which they're a half game back of doing, and they play the 1 seed later this year, the Baltimore Ravens, the current 1 seed, you actually feel better about the Jaguars going away from home, going away from Jacksonville, away from Duval County than you do there. But Trevor Lawrence is really finding his rhythm, had a pass rating over 100 against Tennessee, was really good, had over 300 yards passing, and a couple of touchdown running and a touchdown passing against the Houston Texans. And in general, when you look at Trevor Lawrence in that game, he had a pass rating of 90. He struggled a little bit with the turnovers, the fumbles, the interceptions. He needs to clean that up, but I love what ETN's doing. I love this defense in terms of their ability to take the ball away. I really like where Jacksonville's going. I had them in the AFC Championship game before the season. Still feel excellent about that. Jaguars are the 5th best team in the NFL. The team I think they will lose to in the AFC Championship game. At number 4, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs right now the 4th best team in the NFL, and here is why. So they don't move any from last week, but when you look at Kansas City right now, okay, Rashee Rice had over 100 yards receiving. And have we not been lamenting the fact that, man, outside of a somewhat declining Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes does not have a true number 1 receiver? Well, Rashee Rice against the Las Vegas Raiders, albeit it's Vegas, and they don't have a very good defense. We understand what that happens to be every given Sunday. But Patrick Mahomes, after the Raiders went up 14-zip, the Raiders fighting for a playoff spot, desperate at home, divisional familiarity. Patrick Mahomes had a passer rating of 133 after that, led multiple scoring drives. Isaiah Pacheco was good. Rashee Rice maybe has found his rhythm as the true number 1 receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs, and to give Patrick Mahomes some extra help. They've cleaned up the drops. Again, if offense, I keep saying this, if offense is the Chiefs' problem, they'll be fine. You also consider the fact that they're 8-3, half game back of the 1 seed in the AFC. And guess what, folks? They just finished the second hardest schedule when you talk about opponents' win percentage in football, second only to my Pittsburgh Steelers. So when you look at what they're doing offensively and defensively, they're top of the NFL top 10 in the NFL in score defense. So Kansas City, I love where they're at right now. I still think they're the best team in the AFC. The Chiefs are the 4th best team in total in the National Football League. At number 3, again, really no movement from here. At number 3 right now is the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is the 3rd best team in the NFL, and here is why. So this isn't even a deniable fact. Dak Prescott has been clearly the best quarterback in the NFL over his last 6 games. You look at Dak, 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his last 6 games. The offense and defense, by the way, both top 5 in the NFL. Offense in terms of scoring points, defense in terms of points allowed. So they're stopping teams. They're getting turnovers off teams. Deron Bland last week, congratulations. The record for a single season interceptions, return for touchdowns, pick sixes, as we of course know them to be. Dak squarely in the middle of the MVP discussion. I think he's the front runner. CeeDee Lamb is making a case that he is one of the 3 or 4 best receivers in the NFL. The Dak-CeeDee Lamb connection is rolling right now. Also, you think about guys like Jake Ferguson, who's finding his rhythm as the true number 1 tight end of this Cowboys team. The Cowboys offensive line by Pro Football Focus. An offensive line I had questions about coming into the season, ranked number 5 in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. This team is humming on all cylinders. Mike McCarthy, to me, is in the midst of the Coach of the Year discussion. Love what I'm seeing. Micah Parsons running wild with that Cowboys defense, despite losing Trayvon Diggs and Leighton Vander Esch. The Cowboys today are the 3rd best team in the National Football League. At number 2, it is the team that they got blown out against in Week 5, the San Francisco 49ers. So here's the thing about San Francisco. They are leading the NFL in terms of turnover differential. Their quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, and on defense, they take the ball away from you. So that leads to some short fields for the 49ers offense. Again, it's such a weird discussion with Brock Purdy. You have those who think he is the cat's meow, and you have those who think he's just a system guy and is a product of what they have in San Francisco. I maintain that if the guys in San Francisco are there, Debo, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, etc., Brock Purdy plays like a top 5 quarterback. If they're not there, he's an average version of Russell Wilson or Jared Goff. Still pretty darn good. So Brock Purdy's doesn't have the arm talent of a guy like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or somebody, but he's accurate, mobile, teammates love him. Christian McCaffrey's been nothing short of spectacular in the last few games. He's probably the best player on the Niners offense, at least positional player on the Niners offense, if you don't want to include Trent Williams on that O-line. San Francisco's defense, they did lose Talanoa Hufanga 2 weeks ago, which is a concern, but Nick Bosa's playing well. The interior defensive line playing well. You think about guys like Chase Young, which was a great acquisition at the deadline, and we know Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are the best linebacking duo by a mile in the NFL. I say it every week, and it still remains to be the same, at least in my view. I think the Niners have the best roster in all of football. So I think today they are the 2nd best team in the NFL. And the beauty of this is number 1 and number 2 will take on one another on Sunday, 3rd straight week. It makes me want to vomit saying this. Best team in the NFL is the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are the best team in football, and here's why. So I talked about this on Monday, and I hate Philadelphia. Hate them! This thing, Eagles get lucky, and they win a bunch of close games, 7-1 in close games decided by 1 score, by the way. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts is fantastic in the 4th quarter. So is this defense, so is this coaching staff, so is A.J. Brown, etc. This offensive line, I think, is the best in the NFL. Jason Kelce, still, even at this advanced stage in his career, I mean, man may retire for all we know. He came back, signed a 1-year deal with the Eagles to see what his future is. Still the best center in the league by a lot. One of the greatest centers in the history of the game. And we talk about Philadelphia being in these one-score games. You also got to factor in the fact that this schedule, since that Jets loss, they played the toughest schedule in the NFL, okay? They had to knock off the Miami Dolphins, which they did by 2 scores. Washington was a little bit of a iffy game, but they were able to take that game on the road. Knocked off a Dallas team whose quarterback played better than their quarterback. Props to the Eagles for winning that game. Went on the road to Kansas City in wet, gross conditions. Beat the Chiefs. Wet, gross conditions at home against a desperate Buffalo team. Beat them in overtime. So we can talk about luck all we want, but what great team doesn't get lucky to a certain extent? So this Eagles team is humming on all cylinders. I still have questions about the secondary and the defense in terms of against the pass. We saw Josh Allen expose it the way that even Mac Jones could back in week 1. So that is a concern for Philly, but their offense is absolutely loaded. Jalen is in the MVP discussion, given what he's done in the fourth quarter of some of these games. Today, much as it pains me to say, the Eagles are the best team in the National Football League. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.